Well, folks, as we get closer and closer to the election, Donald Trump realizes that the walls are starting to close in on him and he is in panic mode. He is out there doing everything he can to dodge accountability, and he's going ahead and saying it right out loud. I've never seen someone who just comes out and basically says, "Please take it easy on me. Don't tell the truth. Don't let the evidence get out." He's saying all these things out loud, and yet there are people out there who are still holding on to this guy like it's 2016. They still think they're back there, and they're not. I mean, this guy is a completely different candidate than he was back then. He is desperate now. He's off the rails, and he realizes accountability is coming, and he can't handle it because he's a 78-year-old billionaire that's never had to face any accountability. And the only thing he knows to do is just whine and squirm like he has his entire life. But I'm going to read you this story here from the Midas Touch Network because he's just saying right out loud to Judge Chutkan, do not release any more evidence before the election. This is actually a headline in 2024. Donald Trump urges Judge Chutkan to not release any more evidence before the election. This is from Aaron Parnas from the Midas Touch Network. What does Donald Trump have to hide? Well, that's a great question. This afternoon, Donald Trump filed an urgent request with Judge Chutkan to prevent the release of an appendix filed with the recent 165-page immunity brief, which detailed Trump's actions leading up to and on and after Election Day. Today's filing asked Judge Chutkan to avoid releasing the appendix to the public prior to the November 5th general election. In the submission, Trump's team urges that the so-called evidence should not be released because it has been unlawfully cherry-picked and mischaracterized, specifically during early voting in the 2024 election. Trump further argues that releasing the appendix to the public would be election interference. Wow. Chutkan has previously rejected any notion that the election would impact her rulings, so it's unlikely that Trump's filing today will persuade her from keeping the appendix to the immunity brief private. As a result, the public could soon see the evidence that Trump desperately wants to keep private, and you can read the full submission right here at MidasNews.com. But there it is, folks. I mean, he's saying out loud, don't release the evidence. What's so funny about this, you got to stop and think about how one of the talking points from J.D. Vance here recently has been that there was the Hunter Biden laptop story got suppressed, and that was election interference. Take a look at J.D. right here.
Senator, would you use that specific term rigged? You have said in the past you have concerns about election integrity in the past and going forward. And do you concur with the president that the 2020 election was rigged?
Well, look, Now, you asked the question, and I believe that it's important to answer the question. Let me just tell you one thing that even the liberal media has said happened in 2020. There was a bombshell story that suggested the Biden family had some very corrupt business dealings with some foreign countries. It was all in the infamous Hunter Biden laptop. That happened in 2020. Now, the media, the big tech companies censored that story, and independent people have said that probably cost Donald Trump hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of votes. Now, I don't care what you call that, but it's a damn shame, and we can't accept it in our country. You want to call that rigged? Call it whatever you want to. It's unacceptable to happen in the world's greatest constitutional republic.
So let's try to make this one make sense. He's saying that the Hunter Biden laptop story not coming out is what cost Donald Trump the election, and the American people deserve to know what was in that laptop. Okay. Well, if they deserve to know what was in that laptop and they deserve to hear that story, then don't they deserve to see all the evidence that's out there against Donald Trump before they decide on whether or not they want him to be leader of the free world again? Isn't that suppressing evidence? Isn't that suppressing a story? Isn't that the same exact thing that they have turned and accused us of doing back in 2020? Anytime that they make their claims like this, anytime and if you'll notice, anytime Vance gets asked about the 2020 election, he's not going to answer the question. He's going to duck and dodge. And now he's come up with this Hunter Biden story, and he will shift over and talk about it was censorship. They were stopping people from spreading misinformation on Facebook, and that was censorship. That's where he will go to try to dodge the question of, was the 2020 election fair? Did Donald Trump lose? it's so ridiculous the way they look at things that they don't want the evidence to come out. They don't want the American people to see everything, but they want this guy to be the leader of the free world again. Now, the thing that I don't understand about any of this is if we don't hold Donald Trump accountable, then why should we ever have an inauguration again? Why should anyone lay their hand on a Bible and swear to defend, protect, and serve the Constitution? Why should they ever take that oath if they don't have to, and if they have no guardrails, if they have immunity? Then what's the purpose of it? I feel like that the only way that we could ever restore faith in our system is to absolutely show Donald Trump for who he is. Let's see all the evidence against him, and let's hold him accountable based on that evidence. And that's just the thing, folks. This isn't hearsay. This isn't like all the bogus impeachments that they tried to bring up against Joe Biden. This is stuff that we have concrete evidence for, and we want to see it. And we want the world to see it. And I really want to sit back, even though I know they're hard-headed, I know they're never going to give, I know they're never going to budge. I want to see his supporters have to hear it. And I want them to have to see it. And I will love sitting back watching them try to spin it in his favor, because they can't. Because no matter how hard they try to spin this one for Donald Trump, they're not going to be able to, folks. The evidence is there. We see him for who he is. He's told us over and over who he is. And like Tim Wall says, when someone writes a playbook, they intend to use it. And they intend to use Project 2025. They'll try to distance themselves from it. They'll try to move away from it as much as possible. But we all know that's their playbook. And we all know that they want to get Donald Trump in there and then let him have no guardrails whatsoever. And that should terrify any reasonable person out there. And no, that's not me being hyperbolic. That's just me being realistic. But if they're gonna spin this that, oh, they suppressed the story, now they suppressed the story that cost him the election, but hey, suppress this evidence. Suppress this evidence. Well, regardless of what was in that story with Hunter Biden, or regardless of what was in Hunter Biden's laptop, he's not the president. He's a private citizen. He has no place in his father's administration, never has. It's not a deal breaker. And for those of us who were back there living through the pandemic and realizing just how bad that Donald Trump was bungling it, that Hunter Biden laptop story would not have done jack shit to sway my vote in the opposite direction. So that's always going to be a talking point they go back to, though, because that's all they got, because they do not have the truth on their side. But folks, I truly appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. And if you haven't already, be sure and hit that subscribe button. Don't cost you anything to do so. Check out our memberships here on the channel. If you like them, try them on for size. Keep them a while. I understand $1 is hard to come by these days. So if at any point you want to cancel and come back later, that's cool. We have a lot of fun over there. We're going to be going live tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's Sunday, and playing some music from members only. So I'm looking forward to that. But guys, we'll just keep moving forward toward this election, and we'll keep putting the truth out there, because we know for a fact that Donald Trump does not have the truth on his side at all.